What happens when a mother's love confronts a king's authority? In a world governed by laws, power, and politics, what place is there for the relentless grief of a mother? What strength can be found in silence, in sackcloth, in waiting? If you've never heard the name Rizpah before, prepare to meet one of the Bible's most unsung heroines, a woman whose love endured beyond death, whose protest required no words, and whose actions shamed a king into justice. Rizpah was the daughter of Aiah, a woman of noble birth. But in the grand narratives of kings and warriors, her name was barely mentioned, until tragedy turned her into a symbol of undying devotion. She became a concubine to King Saul, Israel's first anointed king. She lived in the palace, surrounded by politics and schemes, her voice likely muted under the weight of royal authority. She bore Saul 2 sons, Armani and Mephibosheth. These sons were her pride, her joy, her reason for enduring the complexities of palace life. And then the kingdom fell. After Saul's death, David became king. He was a man after God's heart, a mighty warrior, but not without his flaws. During his reign, a severe famine struck Israel for 3 years. Crops withered, hunger spread, and the people cried out. David sought the Lord. And the answer came with a heavy cost. The famine was a judgment for Saul's past sins, specifically his bloody campaign against the Gibeonites, a people Israel had sworn to protect. Seeking to make atonement, David approached the Gibeonites and asked what could be done. They wanted no silver or gold. They wanted no arbitrary justice. They asked for the lives of 7 of Saul's male descendants, to hang them as a public display, to satisfy the blood guilt and bring closure. David agreed. He spared Mephibosheth, the son of Jonathan, out of loyalty to his covenant with Jonathan. But he selected 7 others from the house of Saul, including Rizpah's 2 sons. Imagine the moment when Rizpah heard the news. The agony of knowing her sons would not die in battle, nor of natural causes, but as scapegoats for sins they did not commit. They would be handed over, executed, and their bodies left exposed. Her cries could not stop the royal decree. She was powerless before the king, powerless before the curse of famine, powerless before the laws of vengeance. But what she did next shook a nation. Rizpah took sackcloth and spread it upon the rock. From the beginning of the harvest until the rains fell from heaven, she stayed. Day after day, night after night, guarding the corpses. She drove away the birds by day, the wild animals by night. She remained, unwavering, under the open sky. Her mourning was not loud. She did not demand justice with shouts. She did not storm the palace. She simply refused to abandon her sons. Their dignity was her last offering. Weeks passed. The sun blazed. The wind carried the stench of death. And still, she remained. Passers-by saw her, a woman draped in mourning,
her eyes from sleepless nights, her body weak but unyielding. Whispers began. Who was this woman? Why did she not leave? What kind of love could withstand such horror? Word reached King David, the king who had slain giants, the king who had led armies, the king who had made political decisions for the good of the nation. He heard of Rizpah's vigil and something stirred within him. Perhaps it was guilt, perhaps it was admiration, but he was moved. David ordered that the bones of Saul and his son, Jonathan, be retrieved and brought to a proper burial. He also commanded that the remains of the 7 sons, Rizpah's included, be gathered and buried with honor. Finally, the famine ceased. The skies opened. Rain fell on the land. The curse was lifted, and peace returned to Israel. But it was not the executions that ended the famine. It was not the politics or treaties. It was the silent protest of a mother who refused to let the dead be forgotten. Rizpah never held a crown. She never sat on a throne. But her courage bent the will of a king. Her sorrow became a symbol of steadfast love. She had no army, no weapons. Her weapons were her tears, her presence, her refusal to let injustice be sanitized by time. Her sons may have died and named too many, but her actions ensured they were buried with dignity. This story is not just about loss. It is about the cost of decisions made by those in power. It is about how even the smallest voice or the most silent one can ignite change. Rizpah was not a queen, but her love crowned her with a legacy. Imagine standing on that hill beside her. Would you have endured the scorching sun, the endless nights, the humiliation? Rizpah did, not for recognition, not for justice she would ever see, but for love. That kind of love does not die. That kind of courage shames empires. That kind of mother cannot be ignored. And now, centuries later, her story lives on. Because one woman, one grieving mother, chose to stay. So what happens when a mother's love confronts a king's authority? Sometimes, the king is the one who must kneel. Now it's your turn. What do you think of Rizpah's story? What would you have done in her place? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want more powerful stories of unsung biblical heroes, make sure to check out our other videos, because sometimes the stories we overlook are the ones that change everything.